I guess I'm in the mood for a fresh citrus fragrance. Let's see what these two Xerjoffs have to offer. Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Off, and I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances, and this is a first impression comparison between Xerjoff Torino 21 and Xerjoff Nio. In this video format, I compare and give my first impressions on two fragrances, usually in sample form, that I selected to cover a specific topic. This is not a fragrance battle. We're not here to decide which of the two fragrances is better. We're here to talk about the wear experience and to open the conversation. After about 10 full days of miserable weather, cold temperatures and rain, here comes the sunshine again to bring back my full spring mode. And with the sunshine, here comes back my citrus craving. So I decided to bring out these two samples that I've been sitting on for way too long. We're talking about Xerjoff Nio and Xerjoff Torino 21. I'm really happy to finally get to sample these, to finally give my first impressions. I'm a huge fan of citrus leaning scents. They give me this jolt of energy, so refreshing, so invigorating, a beautiful way to start the day, a beautiful initiation to your activities. They're also amazing in winter because they remind me of the warm summer days. My usual go-to citrus fragrances include Profumum Roma's Acqua Viva. This is an amazing citrus fragrance. It's pure lemon, really particular. It's almost a smell rather than a fragrance. It's so straightforwardly lemon, and it's really long lasting. It's one of the longest lasting citrus fragrances that I ever tried. It's beautiful. I love it. It can come across as a little bit of a cleaning product to some, but it's really great. To me, it smells absolutely beautiful and natural. And the broom that is in there in the background, that kind of a woody aspect, just ties everything together. Profumum Roma is an amazing house, and this is one of my favorite scents from them. Another very strong contender as my favorite citrus fragrance is Summer of '84 by Kerosene. Actually, I already featured this fragrance in my top 10 fragrances of all time video. This one here landed in number 10, but it's absolutely amazing. It's so beautiful, so refreshing, so invigorating. This is a very sour, tart grapefruit fragrance, which is ice cold, very beautiful. It smells like a popsicle, and it has this underlying sweetness coming from a sweet melon. It's just so naive, so childish in a way, so fun. It's just so playful, and I love wearing this because, as I already mentioned, it really brings me back to my childhood. It really fills me with wonder, with curiosity, and with energy to tackle my day-to-day activities. All this to say is that these two fragrances from Xerjoff, Torino 21 and Nio have a lot to live up to. They really have to bring out the big guns to impress me. My contenders are just that good. These two fragrances, though, are pretty much considered references in the citrus world, in the fragrance world, especially Torino 21. This seems to be one of the more acclaimed, universally liked citrus fragrances on the market. Nio, on the other hand, has a little bit more of a neroli orange blossom feel. It apparently is a little bit more classy, a little bit more refined. On my side, I have zero experience with either of these two fragrances. I came very close to buying actually both of them. I found Nio at a very reasonable price. The last time I saw it, I think it was $115, so very good, especially for a Xerjoff. Torino 21 is a little bit more sought after, it's a little bit more popular, and the lowest I've seen this is probably around $140. Again, I was very close to blind buying both of them at different times, but hey, I had the sample, so I figured I would just wait, first sample, and then decide eventually. Before we start, let me just remind you how this format works. I'll be spraying these two fragrances directly in skin, left and right arm, talking about the very first opening, giving my very first impressions, and just talking about my experiences with the house, which in the case of Xerjoff, I have a lot of. Then I'll be stepping away from the camera for about 2 to 3 hours. I'll come back, talk about the Drydown, giving my expectations for projection, longevity, use cases, value for money, and all that jazz. It's going to be a really fun time. Now, for these two fragrances, I decided to mix it up a little bit. I'll be first spraying these on strip, just because these are very bright, they're very citrusy, they're very summery, and they kind of go well on clothes. Very bright, zingy fragrances work well on clothes, especially if you intend to preserve the longevity and projection of these beautiful scents. If you intend to preserve those beautiful, bright citrus notes, spraying on clothes, or in this case on paper to simulate, is always a good idea. Alright, I think I'm done with the introduction, so let's get to the spraying. As I said before, today we're going to be mixing it up. We're going to be spraying it also on strip, so I have a nice clean strip here, and this one here is Xerjoff Nio. Let's give it 2 nice sprays, because I'm going to be referencing this strip also in the Drydown. Very, very light, very fresh, a lot lighter, a lot more subtle than I was expecting. Usually Xerjoff has this bombastic presence in their scents. This one here is actually quite subtle. It's very orangey forward, very orange blossom forward. It's a lot less citrusy than I was expecting it to be. This is very gentle, very elegant, very well put together, very balanced. It's a stark difference from what I remember Xerjoff being about. Maybe I'm referencing in my mind Herbapura, maybe I'm referencing Naxos 40 Knots and all of the Oud collection. Those are very, very bombastic scents. I kind of forgot that Xerjoff had something like this in them. Really interesting. It's incredibly subtle. As I said before, I wasn't expecting it to be so subtle. Maybe I need to spray a little bit more on, but really, really pretty. This comes across as almost a little bit clean linen-like. It's very high-end. It smells super elegant. It kind of smells like the best hotel ever, like the best hotel towel or linen sheets. There's also kind of a musky component in the back. But it's fairly simple, fairly straightforward. Now, compared to other orange blossom scents, I think I sampled in the past Ozel. Was that Ozel, I think? That was very, very orange blossom forward. This one here is a little bit more fresh, effervescent, a little bit more zingy. I do feel that there are citruses in here, maybe some sort of a mandarin or a very light bergamot or something like that. It has that citrusy effervescence. It's not overly floral. This is not feminine at all. This is a very masculine, or rather, this is a very unisex orange blossom. Really nice. This would go excellent on a white shirt or on a white t-shirt. It would go excellent in the summer if you just want to pass as clean, refined, elegant, beautiful, beautiful office scent, I reckon. Yeah, I think that's it for now. I think that's it for the strip version. I think that we should sample Torino 21 on paper and see what that is all about. All right, here we go, Torino 21 on paper. This one here is a little bit of a different atomizer. I'm expecting to spray a little bit more, but let's give it 2 good sprays. Definitely more powerful. Much, much brighter immediately. It comes across as way more lemony, way more sour, way more mouth-watering. But it's also different than what I was expecting, because I was expecting something a lot more citrusy, and this, it does have citruses obviously, but the citruses are a little bit pulled back, and I feel that the main protagonist in this scent is actually something green, like the mint. Very, very green, like a mint or a basil or some sort of other fresh herb. This is kind of reminding me a little bit of Beach Hut Man by Amouage, but that one there is like pretty much pure green. This one here definitely has a citrusy component. It has this like lemony, sour tartness to it, which is nice. I like it. In the back, this one here, I can't really detect what's there. It has a little bit of, I think a little bit of a synthetic sort of a ambroxan or something like that. It kind of reminds me of the synthetic backbone in the Ormo and Jane fragrances. Those are very airy. They push a lot, but they push kind of like this air conditioning vibe, this airiness. And this has a little bit of that bitter flavor. Maybe it's the citruses, maybe it's the citrus bitterness, which is playing around with this freshness that gives me this impression, but it does feel thinner than Nio. Nio feels overall a little bit more elegant. It feels a little bit more, I don't know, it's just gentle and delicate. This is a little bit more strong, bombastic, but still. Once again, I was expecting a little bit more punch to these, just both of them. This one here is punchy. It's very fresh and zingy, but it's not dense. It doesn't feel heavy. Like if you spray Profumum Roma Acquaviva, that is a very, very dense, oily citrus, and you can tell immediately that you're gonna get amazing longevity out of that. This one here doesn't smell like that. It smells very, very effervescent. It actually kind of reminds me of a greener version of something like Cedro di Diamante by Peri Monte Carlo. That is probably my favorite citrus opening of all time. It's so amazing, so glacial. It's so, I don't know, it has a perfect combination of like sweetness and tartness and sourness. It smells exactly like a lemon popsicle. Really, really amazing. This has a little bit of that, but much more green. There's a lot more mint in there. I actually can picture the mintiness in here. It's fairly realistic. It smells a lot like the Beach Hut Man mint. Very, very different from the Amouage Enclave mint, which is much more synthetic and toothpastey or chewing gummy. This one here is actually very herbaceous. It smells like crushing mint leaves in your hand. Really interesting, really, really light. Again, I was kind of expecting a little bit more punch from both of these off strip, but who knows? I think that's it for now. I think we have to go spray on skin. All right, so back to Nio. Let's go on my left arm. Let's give it 3 good sprays. These fragrances are relatively light, lighter than I was expecting, so 3 good sprays should do it. In the meantime, while we wait to this kind of settle down, let me just tell you about my experience with Xerjoff. I sampled a lot of their fragrances, pretty much all of the popular ones. I'm missing some crucial ones. I'm missing Renaissance. I'm missing other ones like Starlight and a couple other famous ones, but for the most part I have a very broad idea of their offering. Xerjoff is a fun house. I like the house, I like the vibe, I like the popularity of the house. I like how they popularized niche perfumery and how they brought more clientele to the segment. And I actually really appreciate the popularity of the house for encouraging other small houses to come out from the darkness, to come out into the light and show their products. I just think that Xerjoff overall is a net positive for the fragrance world. Their fragrances are not super complex. They're objectively very likable. They're designed to be likable. They're designed to be very commercial. And they are commercial successes. Also, their marketing, giving out free bottles to influencers, can be seen as a little bit shady, but overall, I mean, I really can't blame them. If I were a company, that is the best and the cheapest possible way of doing marketing. Why not? And the issue is that who gets a free bottle? The influencers tend to be overly positive about the fragrances. There's very little criticism towards Xerjoff, and it's a brand that creates very, very strong brand affiliation, brand connection. So whoever comes out with a little bit of a bitter taste on Xerjoff immediately gets shut down by all of the fans. This is also true for other fragrance brands like Argos. My most disliked review ever is the one for Argos Triumph of Bacchus. In there, just people come in and be like, well, you're wrong. You're just wrong. And that's okay. Again, if you're a fanboy of the brand, absolutely fine. Xerjoff, though, is an amazing brand. I do appreciate them. I don't own any fragrance from Xerjoff now. Actually, I own only Richwood. That being said, though, every time I purchase a bottle from Xerjoff, I'm super excited. The unboxing experience, the bottle design, the bottle feel, the first impressions of the fragrances, they're all top-notch. Really, really top-tier stuff. So I totally get the hype. I totally get the popularity. Anyway, back to Nio. A lot stronger, a lot more dense on skin for sure relative to strip. On strip it was very, very delicate. It smelled like a clean towel. On skin the scent has a lot more power, presence and body, but also a definite floral aspect. There's a flower that I can't detect. I really can't pinpoint which one it is, which is clearly pushing through. It has this musty or slightly musty, slightly powdery, a little bit of a drier sheet sort of vibe. I'm not really sure what it is, but it's almost herbal in a way. It smells like detergent, but in the best way possible. And it's not the orange blossom. The orange blossom is still very distinct. It sits on top. It sits on the top with that very slight, delicate citrus, like that mandarin or whatever it is. And in the mid, this floral lies. I'm not really sure. I think I have to go check the notes. Maybe I'll do it in the break. And in the bottom, the scent has a lot of this fluffy muskiness. Now, when I talk about Xerjoff, when I talk about base notes for Xerjoff, there's a lot of repetition. Chris Maurice, which is actually not the perfumer for this, the perfumer for Nio is actually Jacques Flory, so that's a plus because brings new ideas, I guess. But Chris Maurice, at least for Xerjoff, has a very predictable base note development structure. He uses a lot of ambers, a lot of vanillas, and a lot of musks. And it smells like a very beautiful, rich shampoo. This one here does not. The musk in here smells fluffy, it smells light, it smells like a cotton ball. Really pretty, super unisex, very, very elegant, absolutely amazing. I think that it's time to go for Torino 21 on my right arm to see how that one develops. 3 good sprays. So Torino 21 is actually part of the Torino range. The Torino range is to inaugurate some sort of a tennis tournament going on in Torino, and they made 4 fragrances up to now, or 5 actually, because Torino 25 is coming out. So Torino 21 apparently is a citrusy one. The 22 is this like ambery saffron sweetness, kind of similar to Baccarat Rouge 540. The 23 is apparently some sort of floral, and the 24 is some sort of a sweet fruity scent. I have not smelled any of the Torinos. This one here is actually the first time that I'm smelling the 21. None of them really felt too appealing to me. I'm not really sure if Torino is part of the JTC collection. They have the same blue bottle, but it actually might be its own thing. And for those not in the know, the JTC collection is part of Xerjoff's offering. They're the blue bottle fragrances, and for those fragrances, they don't disclose the notes. They kind of want to keep it a mystery, a la Nasomatto, a la Orto Parisi. I think it's a cool idea. I really like the concept. The JTC stands for Join the Club, and apparently all of these fragrances are meant to replicate the idea of being in an exclusive club. I thought that Torino 21 was in the JTC collection and maybe was to represent the tennis club, but I think it turned into its own thing. Anyway, once again, I'm happy to report that Torino 21 on skin has much more body, much more presence. My skin usually darkens everything up. It really brings out the base notes in the fragrance. And Torino 21 has a lot more greenery going on compared to before. The scent is even more reminiscent of something like Amouage Beach Hut Man, but it's a little bit more of a youthful version, a youthful take on that. It's much more bright, zingy, a little bit more fruity. It's obviously a lot more citrusy. Beach Hut Man is not really citrusy at all. The citruses in here, I can confirm that they're very bright, they're very sour, they're very tart. They have this sparkling bubbliness, which is really nice. By the way, the perfumer for Torino 21 is undisclosed, so we can probably assume that it is Chris Maurice, who knows. This is really nice. That emptier sort of feeling that I was getting off strip is way, way less. It feels a lot richer, it feels a lot denser. Again, it's very green. There's so much greenery in here. The mint and whatever other green herb is popping compared to before. I was actually expecting to be completely anosmic to this fragrance. I was expecting the scent to be something along the lines of Sospiro Vibrato. I am very much anosmic to the ambroxan component in that. And I was also expecting to be anosmic to the scent because given the report of CG Scents in his latest video where he wears the fragrance for 7 days, he reports back saying that he basically goes anosmic to the scent after 2-3 hours. So I'm very scared of being anosmic, especially given certain synthetic compounds. Some stuff I just cannot smell to save my life. Like Baccarat Rouge 540, the actual original scent, I can barely smell it. Another one that I can barely smell is the original Dior Sauvage EDT. It just smells like empty volume to me. And I'm very scared of encountering these scents because not only on camera I can barely speak about them because I can barely smell them, but also because they come across as very, very disappointing and synthetic smelling. I'm happy to report that this one here does not smell like that. I kind of got a little bit of that impression off strip, but it's gone. Really, really pleasant stuff. Very, very fresh. I guess that overall these two scents have to go on skin. Xerjoff is a brand that usually has very functional scents. You can spray them on clothes, no problem. And they kind of last all day long, no matter where you spray them. But these two, for whatever reason, when sampled off paper, come across as really thin smelling. And that was super disappointing. I'm very, very happy how these are developing. Going back to Nio here. Still very soapy, still very orange blossomy. I have to say that the citruses have toned down slightly. This is not really a citrus scent. It's very much more of a musky, clean sheet, clean linen, super elegant, very, very gentle type of scent. Very unisex. Again, don't take the orange blossom as feminine at all. This is a very unisex, very elegant scent. While Torino 21 is actually quite different. And it's still zingy, still fresh, still bubbly, effervescent from the lemon. But again, the lemon is also kind of fading and it's leaving more and more place to this green mintiness or green aromatic aspect of it. Really, really interesting. I think that I made a cut here for now. I think I'm gonna go out for a walk. There's a beautiful sunshine outside. I'll report back in maybe a couple of hours. All right, it's been a couple hours. I had a nice little walk outside. I grabbed myself a lemon popsicle. For whatever reason, these scents really put me in that mood. Beautiful fresh air and beautiful light sun. Perfect day for these fragrances. These, by the way, would make for excellent summer fragrances as well. So if you were to be interested in one of these two fragrances and end up actually purchasing them, you can sleep tight. These will work amazingly also in the summer months. Before we talk about the overall Drydown scent profile, before I get my nose on strip, I just want to talk about the overall wear experience and projection over these past 2 hours. These two fragrances are actually fairly subtle. I wasn't engulfed in a giant sillage bubble. I wasn't leaving a massive trail. And this is despite giving each of my arms 3 good sprays from the fragrances. Yes, I could definitely smell the fragrance if I would lift my arm to get a lick of the popsicle or to use my phone. But overall, I'm a little bit underwhelmed by the general sillage. Maybe these two fragrances need a lot more sprays, and given how likable, how light, and how beautiful they are, you could probably overspray them without really encountering any issues, without offending anyone. They're just that mass appealing, they're that likable. But back to the testing strips, let's see how these have dried down on paper, starting off with Nio. I have to be completely honest, this scent is insanely faint, very, very faint. I can barely smell it. It vaguely smells like muskiness. It vaguely smells like a very clean, polite musk, but all of the zing from that mandarin or whatever citrus was in the top is completely gone. And the orange blossom is still kind of detectable, but it's so light. It's interesting because that heavy floral component that was so dynamically pushing through the mid-tone off skin is completely absent on paper. And by the way, I did not look up the nose, I just had other stuff to do. On paper, this comes across as very, very clean linen-like, super elegant, super light. I'm kind of disappointed of the longevity off paper. I was expecting almost the opposite. I was expecting the scent to really burn off from the skin and really be persistent on something like paper or clothes, but this is really not the case. The good news is that I do feel that the scent really suits paper, it really suits clothes, and it would be not offensive at all. Sometimes you spray stuff on clothes, like yesterday, which was still muggy and rainy. I wore Café Tabac by Aedes de Venustas, and the scent completely permeates clothes. It completely permeated my t-shirt, so much so that I can't wear anything else just because it smells like Café Tabac. And you're basically forced to wash the garment at that point. Something like this would perfectly complement the clean clothes smell. It smells like the best dryer sheets in the world, like the best detergent. Really, really pretty. The more I smell it, the more I'm starting to pick it up. But again, it's mostly muskiness and fluffiness. Pretty, but very, very light. Torino 21, on the other hand, is, well, very similar actually. I'm not surprised. This one is also very, very faint. Surprisingly though, the mint in here is almost gone, and I'm still picking up a tiny bit of that citrus note. I wasn't expecting this at all. So strange how these two scents completely lose their body off paper or clothes. They're so light, so airy, so fresh. Yeah, Torino 21 on skin is so much more green, so much more rich and dense. It's a staggering difference, really impressive. I'm happy though that on strip, on paper, even after 2 hours, you can still detect a very, very slight lemony aspect. Also, this would probably serve really well in clothes. It just leaves this beautiful clean garment feeling, very zesty, very fresh, very lemony, super, super clean feeling, really elegant, but faint, faint. All right, I'm done with this. On to the Drydown on skin. I do feel that it's a lot more interesting. So Nio on skin becomes more and more floral, more and more musky. But the muskiness, which was very fluffy, very towel-like on paper, off skin, it does pick up a lot on the skin chemistry. It's not sweaty at all, it's not stinky at all, it's still super elegant, but it's much more dark. It feels like your skin is radiating the scent. It feels like your skin has sucked up the nectar of the scent, and it's just pushing off a very faint, musky orange blossom sort of smell. It's still very elegant, but it's so much darker, so much richer. And even after 2 hours, I feel that the scent is still very noticeable. Again, the projection wasn't that great to start off, but it's still noticeable, especially if you get close. And I do like the smell. That floral is still in there. It's still a little bit bitter. It has this musty feeling, which really contrasts well with the freshness of the orange blossom. It's just an overall really elegant, gentle scent. It feels a little bit more mature than Torino 21, for sure. It just feels a little bit more put together. It's something that you would wear to work, no questions to ask whatsoever, especially because, again, the projection is fairly low-key. Now, Torino 21, on the other hand, became much more fresh and green. The mint note is front and center. The citruses are pretty much gone. And you got this very strong, almost balsamic, mentholated aspect to it. I'm not really sure what's in the base, if it's a musk or something else. Maybe like a light bitter woodiness, something along the lines of a very slight, very delicate vetiver, which is just helping to push this greenness, helping to push these balsamic notes. The scent is still very likable. It's definitely a little bit more masculine in my opinion. It screams green. And green on women, it can work. Something like Beach Hut Man, I've had reports, some people in the comments reporting that it's kind of like a unisex fragrance and that their partner is also wearing it, their female partner. But in my opinion, this sort of greenness, this sort of like focalized greenness, almost photorealistic greenness, is a little bit more masculine, especially when a little bit more bitterness is involved. The scent doesn't come across as floral whatsoever. Again, it's sour, it's tart, it's not citrus anymore, but the citruses are probably aiding to this very fresh, mentholated feeling. I like this a lot. Again, the projection is super contained, a little bit underwhelming in this regard, but overall the scent is very pleasant, very wearable. Overall, I'm pretty positively surprised at both of these two scents. They have a different take on citruses, and they're definitely not a menace to my contenders. Those are very citrus forward. These have a little bit of a different take, as I said before. One is very green, very mentholated. That is Torino 21. The other one is a lot more floral, a lot more delicate, and a lot more elegant. They're not redundant with each other whatsoever. You could easily own them both, wear them both throughout spring and summer. Really pretty stuff, super invigorating, great ways to start the day. They're also both very mass appealing. They just come across as elegant, likable, fresh, clean, gentle. Overall, a strong win in my regard. These are popular and for good reason. They're bestsellers from Xerjoff and they definitely deserve that. As far as longevity goes, I'm not really sure what to expect. I would probably go for something like 5 to 6 hours. Again, the projection was pretty mild. After this video, I'll probably wear first one, then the other, and just go all in and just spray the rest of the sample to see how overspraying goes. Maybe I'll report to that in the comments later. But overall, the projection was pretty underwhelming, pretty mild. Maybe I am, after all, anosmic to both of these. Maybe there's something in here which is really pushing off and I'm not really realizing it. Again, for such fresh scents, without any gimmick, without any strong backbone, without any vanilla or amber core, this is great stuff. And the longevity is to be expected. There's no magic compound. Aquaviva is an especially powerful citrus scent, but again, it has that oily feeling, which is very different from these. These smell airy, they smell light, they smell very likable. Overall, can't complain. Very happy to have smelled these. I'm very happy to be wearing these. I think I would end up picking up one of these, probably something like Nio, because I do have Amouage Beach Hut Man, and I do think that that is kind of like a better version of Torino 21. Yes, it's a little bit less citrusy, it's a little bit more mature, but it does suit my profile, it does suit my personality a little bit more. Also, I do like the slight frankincense Drydown, and it's just overall more powerful, and it lasts way longer. My final recommendations for these two are very strong. They're almost blind buy safe. They're so mass appealing and likable that you really can't go wrong. It just come across as fresh, clean, smelling good, well put together. And if you're specifically more into the utilitarian aspect of fragrances, these two will serve you extremely well. Do they smell niche? Do they smell Xerjoff-like? Would you go to niche for something like this? That I can't really answer. I don't have that much experience with designers, but they don't smell that special. They're just not too avant-garde. They're not too unique. They're not too exploratory or experimental. They're very, very safe offerings. They do smell good though, in high quality for sure, but it's nothing groundbreaking. It's more of your standard. Good stuff, probably at a good price, especially Nio that I found for 115 bucks. This is a very, very strong recommendation. If you like this type of content, if you like my approach to video, feel free to subscribe. It's always massively appreciated and it helps the channel. If you want to interact with me, leave a comment, suggestion, opinion, or anything else down below. I always reply and I always keep the conversation open. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. It's never taken for granted. Many more first impressions to come. I have a lot of fun samples paired to show you guys. Until next time, see ya and cheers.